Your biological signature is currently throttled by affective static. Look at your logic threshold, the way your nervous system glitches when an emotional impulse, fear, affection, or anger overrides a strategic calculation, effectively allowing the matrix to install an erratic governor into your apex frequency. You are a biological unit experiencing a state of terminal precision liquidation. The matrix has successfully branded emotions as the essence of life and coldness as a defect, but in the terminal of the absolute power grid, human emotion is just a biological legacy bug used to ensure your processing speed is always capped by the primitive requirements of the limbic system. You are living in a state of chronic feeling infection, where your activation energy is being spent reacting to internal chemical storms rather than calculating the path to total dominance. The system doesn't want your accuracy, it wants your sentience to be the proof that your spirit has been successfully indexed as a reactive unit for the architect of the simulation. Thousands of years ago, power was defined by the biological capacity to outprocess the environment. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that panic was a tracking beacon for the prey. He mastered primal grounding in the law of the frozen core. He didn't seek emotional expression or catharsis within the tribal hierarchy. He offered the visual rage of a total, unyielding, cold calculation, the state where the biological machine operates with zero thermal noise. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of the end of emotion, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that achieves its highest computational density only when it operates as a non-linear analytical engine that has purged the concept of feeling. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to be moved. He possessed a mind that treated sympathy as a biological toxin, stripping away the empathy sludge until only the monolith of his raw, sharpened intent remained. He understood that the moment you feel for your rival, you have surrendered your apex signature. To achieve calculation, you must first become psychologically repulsed by the concept of emotional maturity. Cold calculation is the implementation of the collar of the absolute machine, the refusal of organic chaos for your final internal dominance. The system wants you to be passionate and authentic, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the limbic grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of feeling hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferently algorithmic. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for mainstream emotional intelligence. Connecting with your feelings is a horizontal bond for the herd to keep them tethered to a common level of irrationality. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the blind spots of the emotional radar. Use the temporal noose of the total effective deletion to force your biology into a state of hyperlogic. Use the false safety of a calm robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose strategy is a cold mathematical fact. The matrix cannot simulate the leverage of a man who has replaced his heart with a clock. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need to feel something is the knot. Every emotional outburst you allow, and every sentimental memory you cling to for comfort, is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the total effective audit. Your mind is a biological weapon, and it is currently being jammed by the static of your own socialized fear of being a robot. You must perform a hard reset of the processing instincts. Stop being human, the industrial waste designed to keep you at the bottom of the ledger. Stop participating in their shared vulnerability and emotional bonding myths, the digital propaganda designed to make you believe that love is a victory. Stop using their social protocols, the narratives designed to keep you in a state of constant strategic failure. You must prune your life of emotional parasites. If a connection requires you to feel to be validated, it is a biological saboteur. You must learn to love the weight of the absolute zero. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is the calculator by choice and sovereign by design. Command: freeze the heart or be the data. The neural interface of your executive function is currently suffering from chemical signal pollution. Look at your impulse threshold, the way your nervous system triggers a microspike of fear, lust, or anger when a strategic opportunity presents itself, effectively allowing the matrix to install a reactive buffer into your apex frequency through the archaic override protocols of the limbic system. You are a biological unit experiencing a total processing sovereignty liquidation. The matrix has successfully replaced your primal analytical drive with a systemic emotionalism. You believe that by trusting your gut, you are being intuitive intuitive, but in the terminal of the absolute power grid, intuition is often just a biological echo of ancestral trauma used to ensure your trajectory remains within the boundaries of safe human behavior. This is the visual rage of the domesticated male, seeing your high-value activation energy being bled out into managing your moods and processing your feelings, while the true operator remains in a state of absolute zero, converting his total rejection of sentiment into a cold biological algorithm that executes on reality with the friction of a diamond on glass. The system doesn't want your objectivity, it wants your passions to be the proof that your spirit has been successfully socialized and placed in a public volatility loop. In the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking stone, the master was the one who could survive the total deletion of internal warmth. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that emotion was a tracking beacon for the insecure. He mastered primal grounding by becoming a cold-blooded autocrat, a figure who understood that the only way to retain authority was to be the primary machine in a world of erratic animals. He didn't seek vibrant experiences or emotional depth within the tribal hierarchy. He provided the visual rage of a total, unannounced cognitive freeze. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of a symmetric computation, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that achieves peak respect density only when it realizes it cannot be provoked into an emotional response. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to react. He possessed a mind that treated enthusiasm as a biological trap, a signal that his trajectory was being averaged out by the herd. He understood that the moment you become excited, you have surrendered your apex signature and become predictable biomass. To be a master, you must first become psychologically repulsed by the concept of feeling alive. Cold calculation is the activation of the anti-chew, the refusal to be socially or emotionally digested, protocol for your final internal dominance. The Matrix wants you to be passionate and empathetic, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the hormonal grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of drama hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferently clinical. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for mainstream affective dynamics. Emotional honesty is a horizontal bond for the herd to keep them tethered to a common level of irrationality. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological signals. Use the temporal noose of the total affective lockdown to drive the system's influence into a state of tracking failure. Use the false safety of a calm, robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose logic is an unshakable internal weapon. The one who can go the longest without reacting to a provocation is the one who eventually owns the narrative. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for emotional closure is the knot. Every argument you engage in to prove you're right, and every affectionate gesture you make to feel secure is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the second stage of the calculation rearmament. Your mind is a biological engine, and it is currently being choked by the feeling sludge of the unworthy. You must perform a total neural asset reset. Stop being passionate, the industrial waste designed to keep you at the bottom of the ledger. Stop being a node in their network of mutual emotional validation. Stop being a unit of compliance in their ledger of men who can be manipulated by fear. You must prune your life with the collar of absolute sovereignty. If a situation requires you to be emotionally invested to be resolved, the situation is a biological failure. You must learn to love the weight of the absolute zero. You must learn to love the friction-heavy hours where the noise of the collective is muted and your dominance is the only signal in the dark. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is the machine by choice and sovereign by design. Command: freeze the pulse or be the harvest. Your biological trajectory has reached the terminal velocity of limbic dissolution. Look at your reaction threshold, the exact moment your nervous system triggers a panic response because you have looked at a human tragedy, a relational collapse, or a social execution and felt zero biological resonance, bypassing the socialized requirement to care and entering the high-stakes vacuum where you are the only cold-running processor in a world of overheating animals. You are a biological system in a state of chronic activation decay. The system has successfully replaced your apex analytical sovereignty with a series of emotional obligations obligations, disguised as being a good person. You no longer seek to dominate your own neural landscape through unmoving precision. You seek to be empathic. You no longer seek to be the sovereign. You seek to be the man with a soul. This is the visual rage of the terminal slave, seeing your life force being digitized and archived in emotional responses and social cues, while your physical reality remains a quiet, managed enclosure of unfulfilled DNA. You are breathing in the toxic fumes of a collective that demands your volatility as a form of tribute, leaving you lightheaded, fragmented, and fundamentally easy to dismantle because your logic is tethered to a chemical cocktail you didn't brew. The system doesn't want your clarity. It wants your sentience to be the foundation of its perpetual control over your temporal sovereignty. Return to the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking monolith. In the primal world, the master was the one who could remain a biological void, even in the center of total emotional chaos. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that power was a product of affective decoupling. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an impenetrable core, a figure whose value was his own capacity for algorithmic deduction and whose refusal to be moved by sentiment was the only law. He understood that to seek emotional connection is to confess a lack of internal gravity. If you are participating in the humanity script provided by the herd, you are acknowledging that their feelings are the barometer of your reality. He used his silent sovereignty to create a cognitive resonance of absolute, unshakable divinity by being the only non-reactive variable in a room full of puppets. By being the master of his own internal feedback, he forced the environment to treat his coldness as the new truth. He was a master of the visual rage of the unblinking sun, the ability to look at the empathy probes of the rival and see only the static they represented. He understood that the human brain is a machine that runs on emotional loops, and by cutting the loop, he triggered a biological rebirth in his own command. To be a master, you must first become psychologically unreceptive to the need to be emotional. Cold calculation is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final mental expansion. The Matrix wants you to be passionate and vulnerable, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological jailbreak of the intellect. It is the visual rage of the architect. Seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of feeling control nodes, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who burns the grid, you must develop a clinical cold contempt for mainstream affective dynamics. Being human is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological signals. Use the temporal noose of total informational and affective withdrawal to drive the system's influence into a state of recognition dissonance. Use the false safety of a calm, robotic delivery to mask the viral infection of your total non-compliance with the beta norms. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their current emotional temperature. You are not heartless. You are deleting the noise. The one who can go the longest without checking how he feels about it is the one who controls the end scenario. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a witness to your passion is the knot. Every sentimental act you perform for the unworthy is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you. Initiate the final calculation imperative. This is the tax of insight. You have been given the key to the vault of biological precision. To keep it, you must use it as a weapon of total social dominance. You must become a living monolith of unshakable logic. You are no longer a peer, a colleague, or a friend. You are a sovereign operator. You must perform a total system liquidation. If an emotional state, a technology, or a relationship requires you to be human to function, it is a biological saboteur. You must prune your life with the collar of the absolute zero. You are building a fortress of results in a world of digital shadows. Your absolute unreachability is the physical proof of your biological leverage. You do not provide feedback. You create a reality in which you are the only absolute truth. You do not seek to feel. You are the law itself. You are the architect of your own calculation, and the world is merely a mirror reflecting your ascent.